Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Movie Talks. My name is Daniel.
And I'm Jared.
And we are back to review the movies that we've missed the past couple of weeks.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious
All right. So like Daniel said, we've been gone the past few weeks. We've just had a bunch of school stuff going on. We just got back from a retreat. And so we haven't really had a chance to talk about what we've been watching lately. So we're going to try to catch up in this episode. We're going to talk about Kingsman, The Golden Circle. We're going to look at It. And then we're going to wrap up with some recommends of what we've been looking at. We're going to try to start giving that every episode. So without further ado, the last movie we saw was Kingsman, The Golden Circle.
Yes.
So let's start talking about that. What were your initial thoughts, Daniel?
Initial thoughts. For initial thoughts, we'll talk about the first Kingsman, which I liked enough to get me to see the second one.
Yes.
But there's it seems to have developed like a cult following already in the past couple of years.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm not really part of that group.
No, I remember seeing the first one for the first time. I was kind of late to the party, and everyone had said, "Oh man, you got to watch this movie. It's crazy.
Right.
The action sequences, and it's just so off the chain.
Yeah.
Off the chain. I hate saying off the chain, but it's off the chain." And so when this trailer for this second movie came out, I was in.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the best trailers I've ever seen. I usually tell people that whenever I talk about the best trailers I've seen, I always say the trailer for X-Men Days of Future Past with Sunshine in the background. It's so good. And this one with Frank Sinatra's My Way is incredible. And it got me so excited for the movie because I thought, okay, here we go. They knew what they did in the first movie and they're going to try to replicate that and it's going to be perfect. But I think they tried to match what they did in the first movie perfectly and it just didn't really work for me. This movie wasn't bad, but it was nowhere near as good as the first one.
This movie's very average, I think.
Yeah, it's so everywhere. Like,
yeah,
it's in so many places at so many times, and it just feels like it's trying to do so many things. That the first movie was pretty central, despite how crazy it was, and then this movie was trying to expand its universe by adding the Statesman, and then
and they have the villains secluded in this area. I don't even know where it was, but
it was in like a jungle.
Yeah, it was in the jungle of some sort. And there's a fundamental flaw, I think, in the front of this movie, and it's that. Kingsman goes, just this one, it goes way too easy on its characters. Save for one moment, which we won't spoil, it's near the end. But the problems brought up in this movie are way too easily solved. With the gadgets coming in and being like the really ridiculous gadgets being so convenient for the moment. And almost as if they were like an afterthought. Where the writers get themselves in the situation. They're like, oh, we can have this guy pull out a gadget.
And in the screenwriter's room, they're like, oh no, wait, we have to fix this. But speaking of gadgets, I do want to talk about my favorite part of this movie, and that is Mark Strong. I remember the first time I saw him in a movie, it was the first Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr., and I thought he was so weird, and he kind of was creepy, and I didn't really want to see him in anything else just because of how strange his character was, but watching him in this movie was so much fun.
Yeah.
He's so charismatic on screen, and he's kind of the misfit in the Kingsman because he's still suave and such, but he has a very strange sense of humor, and he's not super hand-to-hand combat oriented. So I really enjoyed him in this movie. But speaking of the combat, this movie was so blatantly CGI, and I hated that.
Yes.
The first one, granted, I mean the church scene, that's clearly CGI. A lot of the fight scenes in the first one were CGI, but they didn't scream CGI. This movie's first action sequence is all animated close-ups and extravagant explosions.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was watching it, and I was just thinking, this isn't what I want. This isn't fun like the first one was.
Yeah, it's really the first action scene I've seen this year. I mean, I didn't see like Transformers or anything, but it was the first action scene this year that I was just like, I'm not really following what's going on here in a lot of parts, and it was really distracting the way they shot it. I mean, I think when they were shooting it, they were like, "Oh, this would be really cool if we did this," and went around it, and it was like, but it doesn't flow together really.
My other big issue with this movie, besides the whole first half, which I just didn't like, the transitions between shots were so terrible.
Yeah.
I whoever edited this movie, I want to know why they did it.
In particular, it's just like, what the heck are we watching?
Are you talking about the one where it zooms in on the bag?
Yeah.
And turns into the forest. I literally just I let out a sigh during the movie.
So many not exposition shots, but establishing shots.
Yeah.
At every place they go to, they
like
just,
a sitcom.
Yeah.
Where
right.
it's like, ooh, and now we're at Central Perk, but instead it's Poppyland, which I didn't like that. But I think it did have some really interesting things to say about drug use. I don't know if you felt that way.
Oh, yeah. Because I walked out of this movie and the first thing I said was, it felt like we just watched a commercial for drugs.
Yeah.
Because there's this one moment in the end where a guy blatantly says, "Oh, I'm never touching that stuff ever again."
I know, yeah. It was so cheesy and forced, but it really got you thinking because not the real villain, but a surprise villain that comes in the end, his motivations for his actions were very interesting. He said, I'm going to butcher this, but he says something along the lines of, "Imagine a world without those people."
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder. I mean, it does. In some ways, it does sound better, but that's no reason to go and
right.
kill every single drug user.
And that brings up my comment about the president portrayal in this movie. Which
Oh my
I
gosh,
think it's legitimately the most unrealistic portrayal of a president since White House Down. Jamie Foxx.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, so
don't do Jamie
unrealistic.
like that.
No, I love Jamie Foxx, but come on.
Oh man.
Oh, my sneakers.
Yeah. The portrayal of the president is so ignorant.
I know.
And
the way he treats his
so
secretary.
and pompous, and he's like, "Oh no, I know what I'm doing." And it's interesting because you know that this movie was in production before Trump was elected. So
Yeah,
I wonder
right.
if that was always the plan for the president, or if they were trying to kind of take a shot at him.
Yeah, and they might have shot those. I mean, those president scenes could have been shot at any time.
Oh yeah,
Could have
because
been at the beginning of the
they were very easy to do.
year.
There are some parts in this movie where I was so uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and I just I didn't want to watch it.
Yeah.
You will know it when you see
You'll
it.
know the scene.
Yeah, it's very another very bad use of CGI, but it was
and
just
transition.
so it's so bad. It's just so terrible.
Gosh, what are they thinking?
Colin Firth.
Oh,
This movie is so ridiculous, but not in a good way that the first one was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whenever they got Colin Firth back, that scene was really good. Whenever they brought him back from his
but it was almost laughably horrible
butterfly
as it
phase.
went on.
Yeah.
Especially the way he talked about the butterflies.
Oh my gosh, it was
like,
super creepy.
Yeah.
But far and away, my least favorite part of this movie was Elton John. He was.
Oh, I know. Everyone's talking too about how funny and hilarious
No,
he was.
he
but
was
when you look
terrible.
back, yeah.
If you've seen the first Kingsman, you'll remember Mark Hamill having a slight role, and it's like that in this movie, but for 20 minutes,
Yeah.
and he plays a vital role in the plot. It's just so terrible because Elton John is in this peacock suit the entire time, and he's running around, and everyone is addressing him as royalty and all this stuff, and it's just.
I thought there were two funny parts with this character. The first one was the introduction, and then the second one was when he jumped in front of that guy. I forgot who he jumped in front of, but then it was like, Elton John, friend.
Oh, yeah, with the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this movie,
It's really discordant and all over the place.
I would have liked it more if I had red boxed it instead of spending $9.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but it did not meet my expectations at all because the trailer was so much better.
Yeah.
So, that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it too. Again, the big issue with me was that, like, in the first one, the characters really relied on their own intuitions, especially in the training scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he was underwater and he had to smash the glass. But
Yeah.
there's just none of that in this movie. It's all just pull out a gadget that we never see again. It's just like, oh, where did that come from? How'd they have that perfectly for this situation? It's just like, yeah.
Very convenient.
Mm-hmm.
So, you want to jump into ratings?
Yeah.
All right. I think I'm going to give it the same thing that I can see on your screen there.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna give this 2.5 stars. It's very average.
Yeah.
And
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good, and it for sure wasn't great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it enough, but I just don't like seeing movies this lazy and this.
It's almost like they made it just to be a movie that people can just check out and
Yeah.
watch a bunch of action sequences. But
Right.
the action sequences are very uninteresting.
Right.
But so yeah, I'd give it a 2.5 also. So now let's transition to a movie
That we liked a little better.
that came out of
Nowhere.
in the sense of how good it was. It
Yes.
certainly did not come out of nowhere in popularity and anticipation because
Oh yeah.
my goodness. That's not what you told me you gave it.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I nearly fell out of my stool.
I know what you thought that looked like.
My goodness. So it's It.
Mhm.
I'm going to start off by saying that this was one of my favorite theater experiences I've ever had.
Oh,
if you're
absolutely.
watching this and you were in that theater, you know that it was just so much fun.
Yeah,
And
we got about 20 of our friends.
we
together
need to
see
do
this
that
movie.
again
Yeah,
for
it was
another
so much
movie.
fun.
But
This was the perfect movie to do. With
oh,
the-
yes.
It's still in theaters if you haven't. Just go see this with a bunch of your friends.
Every minute you could just hear murmurs in the crowd of like, oh no, oh no,
That's
no.
the best part. And I hate talking in movie theaters. I hate phones. I hate crowds in movies. But for movies like this, horror movies particularly, it's just perfect.
No,
when
yeah,
you hear this.
Yes, having people in there that are just as scared as you
Yeah.
adds so much to your experience. So, what are your initial thoughts to It? Have you seen the miniseries?
No, I was planning on getting to that before I saw this one, but it's super long and I just didn't get the time to do it.
So it fell to a 7.9.
Ooh.
So I tried to get fairly acquainted with this before it came out because I wanted to know, and I've always seen Pennywise and stuff, and he just scares the mess out of me.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to know a little bit about the character. But yeah, like you, I didn't get around to it until after to kind of learn more about the world and the character. I genuinely do like some of the Stephen King movies or books that have been adapted to movies.
Yep.
I mean, The Shining. You can't go wrong
Shawshank.
there. Shawshank.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Shawshank's a
Oh.
Stephen King adaptation.
Oh gosh. That almost makes up for Dark Tower.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this movie, I've heard it said as Stranger Things meets pretty much any horror movie ever.
Right.
But it's true. It's able to use child actors very well.
Yeah.
I thought the chemistry and the way that the children are able to get you to believe what's going on is very impressive and remarkable, because then you jump over to Terminator 2 and you have what's his face
Edward
just
Furlong.
ruining the entire movie. But yeah, I thought this movie wasn't necessarily super scary. It was a little more creepy. I wish it had been more scary, aside from the opening scene is terrifying. And then
Oh, yeah. See, I wasn't even exactly sure what I was getting into with this movie. So that opening scene was quite a startling indication
oh my
of what
gosh,
was
it
to follow.
came out of nowhere.
Oh my goodness.
I was not ready at all for
Yeah.
a child's arm to just be ripped off.
Yeah, that part was definitely my favorite scene of the entire movie.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
It was really dark.
there are a lot of jump scares in this movie, but they always feel earned, because there's a good amount of setup time in this movie
Yeah.
for character building and for just the horror of Pennywise to start escalating. And the jump scares are primarily in the second half, and yeah, they always feel earned, unlike in a lot of modern day horror movies.
One thing that I thought was interesting was that most of the movie took place during the day.
Yes.
But I think it fits very well because this movie is dealing with kids in the middle of summer, so they're not going to be out at night all the time. So, I mean, at first it could probably be seen as, oh, this isn't going to work because who shoots a horror movie during the day?
Mm-hmm.
But it works because it makes it more realistic in a way, because the kids are going to be out during the day. They are going to be riding their bikes around and exploring rivers and hopefully not sewers. But I thought the setting helped a ton, being in this weird town that no one really knows what's going on. It was a very good setting, especially the time period too, because this is the age where kids do go out and wander and just kind of explore and
Yeah.
hang out
And
all
it makes
summer
you-
long.
It makes you miss that time too.
Yep.
I mean, with the fact that we were never living in that time, it's just like it's really sad.
Yeah. Nowadays it'd be Pennywise haunts Snapchat or something.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It'd be terrible.
There's a lot of humor in this movie. Just,
Oh my
just about
gosh.
as much as there is horror, and everything hits. There's a great balance of the humor in this movie. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's mixed in with scary stuff, and other times when it's not, it's just absolutely hilarious.
Oh my gosh. I heard more audible laughs than I did screams and shrieks during the theater or in the theater. But yeah, this movie did a really good job of replicating how kids talk to each other, because despite what parents may think, kids just give it to each other. Like nothing is held back. And it did a really it did a good job, but it was kind of an alarmingly good job, because you're hearing 12-year-olds cuss at each other in really vulgar ways. What do you think of Bill Skarsgård?
Bill Skarsgård. He was terrifying. And the fact that a lot of the stuff that he did, he actually did.
Oh
like,
my
it's
gosh.
not CGI, like the lip, the thing he was doing with his lower lip, and then the thing he was doing with his eyes. Mm-hmm. The fact that none of that was CGI is just
so terrifying.
Really creepy.
I remember I watched the interview with him on Jimmy Kimmel, and he looks so much like Pennywise just on his own, because he has big eyes and just he has a slender face at the bottom, but then it kind of rounds out at the top with his forehead, and it's just so scary. He looks at the camera at one point, and he just kind of stares into it, and you feel like he's looking at you. Yeah. I'm looking for this one note that I saw on IMDb, and I thought it was so interesting. For those who don't know, the book is split up into two parts, kind of. The Losers Club as their kids, and then the Losers Club grown up after the 27-year period of Pennywise's hibernation passes. And they asked the child cast to pick older actors and such to play their older selves in the next movie, if that's the direction they're going. And I saw it, and it was so interesting. It got me excited for the second movie. I was ready to sign up right then. I can't find it. Where is it?
I bet you could look it up.
Yeah, I'll just Google it. Is there anything else?
Yeah.
In the meantime,
so the first half of this movie I thought was pretty much about as good as modern day horror gets. Yeah, I mean everything works in the first half of this movie. Unfortunately, I think in the final act especially, it just kind of jumps into some conventionalities and some uncharacteristically choppy editing and dim lighting, which made for a very unsatisfying conclusion, I thought. Especially with the greatness that had come before.
Yeah, the ending was a little off for me. I don't know if I enjoyed it, because I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it was super hard to tell what was going on. I mean, and it does take place underground, but still. Did you find it?
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
So, I don't necessarily remember the names of the kids in the movie, so I'm going to say who played them and kind of their role in the movie. Everyone should know this. Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things.
He with glasses, right?
Yeah, with glasses. He said he wanted Bill Hader, which would be perfect, because he's the comic relief of this movie, and Bill Hader's hilarious, and they look the same, and it would just be so much fun.
Oh, really?
Her name is the girl who Bev, that's her name.
Bev.
Jessica Chastain. I don't like Jessica Chastain, but I would totally see that. Mike, the butcher kid, whatever, Chadwick Boseman, which would be great. Eddie, the germaphobe, Jake Gyllenhaal, which would be awesome.
That's the one I was most excited about.
Wyatt, the priest's son, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which would be interesting. And then this one was funny. The kid who plays Ben, the new kid, Chris Pratt. I like this cast. I don't think it could happen just because.
Oh, wait, sure it could. I mean, it. I don't know.
Do they have the money for that?
Of course they got the money. I mean, it was a $35 million budget movie. I'm not exactly sure how much it made, but didn't it make over $100 million in its first weekend?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think was it the highest grossing. I think it was the highest grossing horror film for sure. I don't know if it beat Deadpool, but man, that cast would be incredible, and that would be a movie that everyone would go see because by the time that it came out, the Marvel fans who have known Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, they would go and see him in a new role, and you know that they forgot one. What's his name?
Which one?
Billy, the main kid.
Oh yeah.
Christian Bale.
Oh yeah.
So that right there would draw older crowds, and
except he's super fat right now.
He is super fat.
He's buffing up for to play Dick Cheney.
Yeah, but still, that cast would be incredible.
Yeah.
And it would draw people from all different genres.
Right.
And I feel like word of mouth from the first movie and the new cast, if that did come together, I mean, you're talking about something that's Marvel quality in terms of anticipation, money, buzz. So yeah, I would be very interested to see that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
about all we have.
I don't really want to get into issues that I have with this movie because we could be here all day. And I know that they're probably answered in the book, and they would probably be answered in the second movie too. So yeah, jump into ratings.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the first half of this movie is a 4-star movie.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
Unfortunately, I think the second is a 3. So I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars.
Meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really surprised me though. Still.
Yeah, very surprising. I wish it was scarier. So initially coming out of the movie, I was slightly disappointed. It was fine. I enjoyed it. But it didn't quite scare me as much as I wanted it to because even seeing the trailer, I didn't. I mean, I said it on this podcast. I didn't want to go see it. I was too scared.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was funny. I thought the trailers for this movie were funny.
Yeah. When shoot, what's his name? The kid, Georgie. When
Georgie,
he runs into
when
he comes into the sewer works thing, that's still so funny. But then the sewer scene's not.
That sound effect was still in the movie, but they've made it a little louder, so it wasn't as funny.
Yeah, I'm stuck between a 3 and a 3.5, just because I feel like this movie isn't going to be as good on a second watch, just because I won't be in the same environment. I know what's coming. It'll still scare me. I'll still shut my door and hide all night.
That first scene will always be as good as it is.
Oh my gosh, it's so terrifying. But then you have the scene where Pennywise is dancing and the
I love that part.
Thing.
I love that part.
So yeah, that's where I'm sitting. If I make up my mind, we'll address it later.
Yeah. Okay.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, because I talked you up a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna bump it up. So I think I'm at a 4.
Yeah.
Thinking about that movie, it's so well put together, and it doesn't drag as much as I thought it did, and so I'm.
Oh, you thought it dragged the first time?
Yeah, I thought in some parts it did. Whenever he was stuck at the house with.
Yeah, I guess.
With who he thought was his brother, but yeah, it was really good. I totally agree with you as Robert Pattinson leading the pack for. Best Actor, American Made just came out, so we'll see how Tom Cruise does.
Yeah.
And then we've got Jake Gyllenhaal's new movie, whatever that is, and then pray that Ryan Gosling gets something from Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Still haven't watched the trailer. I have walked in and...
Hey, Harrison Ford too.
Is he going to be in it that much, though?
I hope.
We'll see. I'm still avoiding trailers. I've made it this far. I'm hoping that I can survive another week.
One more week.
One more week, and that episode's gonna be insane. But for now, let's stay in the now. Let's move into our new segment of recommends. We're not gonna call it weekly recommends because we don't do an episode every week, so we're just gonna call it recommends. So it's just stuff we've been watching, reading, listening to lately, and so mine as I'm sure it is no surprise to anyone who has been around me the past 2 weeks, it's Moana. I I never saw this movie in theaters, and I was kind of skeptical because, everyone was singing the songs, and it was Lin-Manuel Miranda who had done Hamilton. Everyone loved that, and so I was skeptical, and I finally just watched it. It was on Netflix, and I was like, you know what? I'm watching this. And I loved it. It was so good.
That's an understatement.
Right. It's literally all I talked about for the past 4 days. I am of the opinion right now, it might not be the best movie, but as of right now, it is my favorite movie of last year.
Wow.
Over La La Land, over Moonlight. I love this movie. Dwayne Johnson just kills it. I think this is his best role, and he's not even on screen. Man,
wow.
I love Moana.
I still haven't even seen it.
The songs are so good. Yeah, I love Moana. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you've seen it, go watch it again. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good.
Wow. Oh yeah, I don't have anything to recommend. I mean, I've been watching stuff lately, but I can't nail down a definitive recommend. So I'll do it next week.
Yeah. All right. So got Blade Runner coming up.
Yeah, that is going to be exciting. Oh, let me see where it's at on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Did you say it was at a 97?
Yeah, but it moved up, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, that's fantastic.
It's my most anticipated movie of the year. 98.
Sweet. That's so good. I can't wait.
Hey, we also got the Florida Project coming up.
Pictures.
We also got the Florida Project coming up next week.
I would love it if Willem Dafoe won an Oscar.
Yeah.
I have been an avid supporter of Willem Dafoe.
That's at a 97. It's not on my screen anymore.
Oh, okay. Oh, 97, sweet.
Yeah.
I feel like that'll be better than Moonlight.
I love Moonlight. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. No, you should be sorry.
No, Moonlight's bad.
Yeah,
Poor
so we.
characterization in it, stole it from all of them.
No. Okay, so we got some good stuff coming up.
Yeah.
A
lot of things to look forward to in the fall.
Oscar season's coming up.
All right.
So it's exciting.
Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. So once again, I'm Jared.
And I'm Daniel.
And thanks for watching. We will see you for our next episode, Blade Runner.